Jonathan Cahn likes to stay flexible, and that continues when it comes specifically to his contention that America was understood to be a new Israel that was in covenant with God. In one place, he calls America a civilization established on the Word of God, dedicated to His purposes and consecrated to His glory from its very inception. And that's why he thinks America should be subject to certain biblical judgments. But is he right? Was in fact America established, dedicated, and consecrated to the will, word, and purposes and glory of God from the moment of its conception? The answer is no, although it would be fair to say that some communities were established with that in mind, at least in their own perceptions. Cahn rightly points to two such communities, the Pilgrims and the Puritans, who settled in Massachusetts. These guys definitely believed that they had a covenant with God, and that if they behaved themselves, God would give them a special blessing. The subject, though, exposes some problems with Cahn's thesis. For one, they pretty much limited this mission to their own colonies, not all of America. A second problem is that the Puritans didn't take long to conceive of their experiment as a failure. By 1650, Puritan literature was full of lamentations over how much impiety there was, and the presence of crop failures, Indian wars, droughts, and epidemics were all taken as a sign that God was judging them for their failures. So if Cahn is right, America was already violating its consecration from the get-go. And if you transplanted Jonathan Cahn to the 1650s, he'd no doubt be writing about the harbingers of crop failure and epidemic, and finding all kinds of mathematical patterns in the number of Indian tribes who were attacking the Puritan colony. More importantly, since the Puritan experiment was a self-confessed failure, how could they possibly be used as a model for America's status as an allegedly consecrated nation? Another place you'll find this idea that America was a new Israel is in early American preachers. Men like Jonathan Edwards, John Cotton, and Nicholas Street preached sermons with titles like "The Latter-day Glory is Probably to Begin in America," which argued that America was going to be a new Israel for New Testament times. But of course, none of these men had the authority to consecrate the nation. For that, we have to go to the nation's founders. Does Cahn have any evidence that any of the people we call America's founders shared this idea of America as a new Israel? His first piece of evidence has to do with St. Paul's Chapel, a tiny church next to where the World Trade Center used to be, and where those two trees we talked about before were planted. Cahn correctly notes that this church was where George Washington went after his inauguration as president on April 30th, 1789. Accompanied by the Congress of the day, Cahn says that they in Washington bowed together in prayer to consecrate the new nation's future into the hands of God. Strangely though, Cahn doesn't provide any statements from Washington or anyone else at that service where they said they consecrated America's future to God. The only contemporary account of the service comes from the Journal of the Senate. So this was a divine service, basically meaning the standard liturgy for the day. Now I'm sure Washington and the others did have prayers of some kind, and I'm sure the nation and their responsibilities towards it were foremost on their mind that day. But there's no evidence that they consecrated America's future into the hands of God while they were there. How about evidence of individual founders seeing America as a new Israel? On that account, Cahn doesn't have a whole lot to offer. That's our series on Cahn's Harbinger. By this time, it's clear that Cahn's theories have found their fate as yet another on a long list of end times failures. So, what's next up for Jonathan Cahn?
This verse shows that God is going to judge America for its horrible sin of public urination.
Ah, boy. See you in a few years for the next series.